Yo, what up, people? This your boy Tim, aka T.O. Speaks.
And it's your girl. Did you put lime in my stuff?
No.
It's your girl, Yami, aka Yams Be Sad. And you are now tuned into Love and Theology.
So many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in real love, your love.
Yo,
Really quickly before Tim leads us off, I want to shout out Latanya of LK Burgess. Is it LKB Burgess? LK? I'm gonna put it in the comments and in the footnotes, in the show notes, if you're listening to us. Latanya, my honeybee, for creating our new or other Love and Theology t-shirts. And okay, so like Tim is rocking the regular tee with the black and the logo on it. I'm rocking the baseball tee with our logo on it. And I don't know if you can see it. But she made socks for the winter, and I asked her to make some Love and Theology socks. I can't put both of them at the
just take
same
a sock
time.
off.
I just don't, cause you can't. Anyway, look at those. Oh my leg. Okay, thank you. And I mean, if you guys are interested in purchasing t-shirts, I guess we can go ahead and do that.
We got that merch.
We can do that too. But the socks are definitely an LK Burgess.
Latanya creation.
Yeah, but she has a name. I'll put it in the show notes. I'm doing so bad. Okay, but it's okay. So, woohoo! T-shirts. Oh, and let me give credit to Anika because the baseball jersey suggestions or shirt suggestion was definitely hers.
Nika is the illest.
Illest and the realest, so is Latanya. Okay, so.
Yo, what up? On this episode, we had another suggestion, right?
Yes! People are actually asking us things, which is cool. We're not like actually manufacturing these questions and saying, hey, someone suggested this, which is cool.
And here was the question. When this person was talking through it, they was actually working through the question, right? They said, do you think that a person can marry somebody of a different faith or be in a relationship with somebody of a different faith without causing conflict?
Right. So we were, I think, with the deepest way to respond or to title this episode would be, "Are you equally yoked?" But we don't want to do all that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the time. This episode number 7, is going to be titled, "What about your friends? Are they gonna be low down? Are they gonna let you down?" Yeah.
So here's the question. What do you think about that? Do you think you could marry, friend? Well, let's not even go marriage yet, right? Do you think you could be good friends with somebody who's, let's say, of a Muslim religion, and you're of the Christian faith? Do you think that y'all could be good friends? Do you think it would work? Do you think y'all could come to an agreement on stuff far as like religiosity, spirituality?
Is religiosity really a word?
Here you go again.
Let me tell you why. Because a couple people, too, before I put the pericope definition in the little thing, were looking at you like, yeah, you out here just throwing words out.
But I can't help because they don't know the words, so they just say, I'm out here throwing words out. I'm just saying.
Boy, you done picked up. Let me tell y'all something.
Just saying, man.
When I met Tim, I was in my master's program, and I was nerding out a lot, reading and whatever. So he used to tell me all the time. He was like, "Well, you don't have to use big words every time you speak." And I was like, "Well, this is how I speak." I didn't even realize that I was using big words. He was like, "I can show you how to talk regular," and I said, "What? What?" I can show you how to talk regular, just because he was uncomfortable with my big verbiage or my large vocabulary, which is ironic to me. Even my therapist at one point, I think I said something, and my therapist was like, "You don't think you use big words?" I was like, "Nah."
You do, but you all the time. You actually do when you being conversation with people. But when I used the word pericope, that wasn't even really a big word. It just was the word we was talking about.
Oh, okay.
It was what I was talking
What's
about.
what other word? What is a synonym for pericope? You could have used a different word. You chose not to. You was out here. Listen,
Let me
we
say,
get
no,
it.
no,
You're
no, no,
smart. You're in school.
No,
Wah, wah, wah.
It has nothing to do with that, actually.
Okay.
It has something to do with, that's the word that came to my mind.
Huh, interesting. But I can show you how to talk regular if you want.
Okay. Hater.
Okay. I always start off answering the question, so you go ahead. Answer the question.
Yeah, I absolutely believe you can be friends with somebody of a different faith or different set of beliefs or ideology just because I'm a Christian. Actually, one of my good friends is a Muslim, right? And we don't sit here and try to beat down why Muslims is right and why Christians ain't right. What we do, we just, when we speak of it, actually, man, we got some of the same viewpoints. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about loving people and loving God. That's pretty much it. So I think what we have done in our faith, and even in their faith, I really don't know much about Muslim faith, as far as like how they go, how they worship. But I think in our faith, we have tried to outcast or isolate ourselves from the world. And the world means different religions, right?
I guess I'm sitting here trying to figure out where. When I say this, I'm not saying where in the Bible. I'm saying what Jesus did. Because a lot of us, I feel, a lot of us in the Christian faith are not followers of Jesus. We're like Pauline followers. We're followers.
And actually, that's where most of the time we get that thing equally yoked from. I think it's 2 Corinthians 6:14. He speaks of being unequally yoked because of what was going on in the Corinthians church.
I mean, there's some context behind it that I don't think everybody really responds to. But essentially what I'm trying to say, though, is I'm trying to look, okay, follow me, right? If we're holding other people to the same standards that Jesus, that we say we believe, which means that we can't, fool with, non-Christians or whatever. Jesus wasn't a Christian.
He was a Jew.
He was a whole Jew-ish person.
Jewish person.
So I just don't like it.
His mother was a Jew. That's the Bible say.
I mean, but he was too.
Right.
So if we're following in that, like, we shouldn't have access to him the way we do. The other part of it too is how else will someone come into the knowledge of Jesus yet by engaging and participating in fellowship? That don't mean that you got to, like, now there's some people that you can't because you don't have no boundaries.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the ability, if you don't have the ability to go like into a club and, bring salvation to someone else, you know what I'm saying? Then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be participating in that.
No, that's so true. I believe too with Christians, right? What I've learned too, like when we come across most people with a different set of beliefs, unfortunately, like Hebrew Israelites, for example, right? Unfortunately, most of them are well studied in what they studied and what they believe in.
Oh boy, they're joking me. No, they know they word and your word.
And what I learned is this: like most times Christians get mad, we always default to what does the Bible say in period, point blank.
Yeah,
because they ain't able to defend the word. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. They're not able to defend the word, so they get mad and just say, well, this is what I'm believing. Instead of having a conversation with the Hebrew Israelite and seeing what their viewpoint is, what their vantage point is, why do they believe the way they are? And then we need to be so well studied, well versed that we can begin to have a educated conversation on the Bible, and maybe through that begin to turn their viewpoint towards us if that's what we believe in. But we can't default to, well, they are this, they are that. Because guess what the enemy also wants us to do? Want us to hate each other in the religious realm so we can be divided more. If we can keep division, he can continue to move and corrupt this world. That's what he wants.
I feel like too where Christians are gonna get like kind of locked in is that, to your point, that they don't know the word for sure.
Right.
They know what someone has preached from a pulpit.
Right.
They know what they've been streaming online. They know what they mama them or what. One of my favorite teachers from McAfee School of Theology, Dr. Lloyd Allen, used to be like, "This is not your mama them theology," and so they know. We know. I'll say we know things based off of what we have been, what we have heard. But the Bible tells us to study thyself approved.
Yep.
Show thyself approved. Study that word. I don't know. What does it say?
Something
Something close to it.
They know what I'm talking about. But
do that. But even if you don't, I'm gonna put it in the show. I'm gonna put it in the video.
it's even like in the Bible when they say people perish for the lack of knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
My
oftentimes
people perish for the lack
lack
of
of knowledge, right?
Because I didn't know the other verse. I know that one, so I guess I can go ahead and.
But we also, but I'm saying what we do, we also turn that word to be like the lack of knowledge of the Bible. That's not that's not the only thing he's talking about. He's talking about lack of knowledge of everything, right?
Yeah.
How can you know it's something? How can you say I don't want to have knowledge of the world because I'm not of the world? You got to have knowledge of the world because in that sense of the world, you got to know what's going on, what's corrupting the world. You got to have that knowledge in order to combat it with Christian values, right?
The other part of it too, though, let me tell you something that I like about the Muslim faith, or at least through observation, right? One of the things that which I think is really good to their discipleship, is that they take care of the person's need first, love on them, and then by subsequently loving on them, it translates to them becoming followers of their belief system, which is, I think, a practical and tangible tool that Jesus used to do. Like, Jesus didn't go off, tell me something. Listen, I am the Son of Man. Ha! Look at me. You see me walking here, God in flesh form. You know what I'm saying? Love me now. He legitimately went to people, took care of their needs, and then by virtue of having a relationship with them, was able to then develop the concept of, hey, so you know what I'm saying, this whole Messiah thing, real thing, me, whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I like to use this analogy. To piggyback off of what you said, you're absolutely right about how Muslims act. I was in correction, right? You know what I noticed about when I was inside the prison, as a correctional officer, I just had to throw that out. Somebody might have missed that. As a correctional officer. But when I was inside the prison,
I get it. What you're trying to say is that you were not inside the prison because
I was a correctional officer.
Okay.
I
was like, why is he saying that? Okay, go ahead.
But no, what I used to know, you used to have you used to have Muslims and Christians, right?
Yeah.
I used to see Muslims when a Christian when somebody came in, like somebody new comes to prison. You know what the Muslims used to do first? They used to make sure they had food to eat. Mm-hmm. They used to make sure they had all these different things. They loved on them, and then in return, they would end up joining the Muslim faith, right? But what Christians did, what I noticed, they wouldn't do that. They'd sit there and look at them, wouldn't talk to them. It was weird. Then eventually they would ask them, "Hey, you want to come to church?" And that'll be it.
Christianity sometimes is just like a tattoo that we wear on our shoulder. It's kind of like one of those things where you put it in a visible place so somebody can say, "Hey, what does this mean?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, this means I'm a Christian." But it's like no substantive value. It feels like sometimes in a way that we're actually, and I don't like to say winning souls, because I don't think that we win souls. I think that we are supposed to live our lives in a way so that God can then win souls through us.
Yes.
But we are not like the winner of souls.
Right.
It like in a way that I think in a way that I think that some people misappropriate that terminology. But my point though is, there have been times that I missed the opportunity to be a vessel for the Lord out of my ignorance, and it created spaces for people not to come to the knowledge of God. And I'm going to have to be responsible because I was stuck in my religiosity. You know what I'm saying? Or in my traditional ways of what I thought.
Why you did the quote?
Because you used the word. In my thoughts of what I thought that stuff was supposed to be, which I think is ridiculous. So to your point, I definitely do believe that that there can be a relationship in to effect. I think that if you are mature enough to handle it, you should have relationships with people of different practices.
Right.
Just because, how else do you learn? How else do you learn what a brother or sister needs unless you spend time with them?
It's just like, you know how we love Martin Luther King, right? He was a Baptist preacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
He most of his teachings, that you know where he got it from?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Who was a what?
I don't know.
A Buddhist.
Oh, I didn't know.
You know,
What it was,
but guys, you know what? He didn't take on his ideology, but he saw the virtues that he displayed that was similar to Jesus Christ. That's all it was, you know. That's all it was, right? So I think we were missing the point. We were like, this person is now, you know, if somebody from a different faith is trying to berate me and beat up my faith, of course I'm not going to sit there and argue with them. That's a difference. You see what I'm saying?
All right, sitting down and arguing, still being able to have dialogue with them or love on them and blah blah blah. Yeah, but yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and fight with them either. You know.
Although your girl does love a debate. Oof, I do. I do love an opportunity to sharpen up my debate skills.
But even with that, I think that we done misunderstood arguments, right?
Mm.
We always see arguments as something that's blown up and fighting and being heated.
You do.
But the argument, what are you talking about?
You do.
I'm just sitting here explaining what argument is. You say I do, but I'm sitting here explaining what.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is.
I apologize. Continue.
But argument is more, you know, supposed to be like it's just a debate. It doesn't have to be heated. And I think that we've shied away from those type of conversations because we no longer understand what an argument is. You know, we think it's always a fight. Why you pausing looking at me?
I'm just listening to what you got to say.
But anyway, let me ask you this then. Do you think someone of a different faith can be married? Can a Muslim and Christian can be married to each other and have a great marriage?
I think there's some complexity with that, right? Just because from a feminine perspective, there are some traditions that have limitations based off of their culture.
True. Mm-hmm.
So, with respect to that, I think from the feminine perspective, it's something that you would really have to really evaluate for yourself and see whether or not your spouse was accepting to whatever your practices were.
And you know what? You just gave the perfect answer because you gave a great answer because you didn't throw it up like they don't believe what I believe in. You basically put the practical in it. Like, yeah, they're making me, you know, as a woman, be basically like a slave or under their foot or subservient to. Ain't that the word I heard you use before?
Yeah, very subservient.
And
to be fair, I'm not even talking about how like a Muslim faith does that to whatever, may or may not do that. I don't know, right?
You don't know.
But the Christianity too, to some degree too, it pushes an agenda on women that I don't think is quite connected. Ooh, such a great topic about the Ephesians 5:22 dialogue. We need to talk about that. But there are some Christian pastors preaching from a pulpit that, you know, women are supposed to be a thing that was never necessarily indicated by the Bible that they read or Jesus with whom they serve. So I say that with the balance of I'm not specifically referencing, you know, the Muslim or a Buddhist faith. I'm collective.
You're not saying that's what the Muslims do. You don't want to throw it out.
No, I'm saying collectively. You know, I'm saying collective. What I do know is that in the Christian faith, there are some people who practice that kind of theology, and so even when you're considering getting married to someone, it's really good to have it's in addition to how you're going to raise your children, and you know, if you want kids or if you do want kids or if you don't want kids or all that other stuff, you do both need to have an understanding of whether or not
you definitely need to know, right?
Yeah, like y'all are aligned with, hey, can I fully operate in myself the way I feel, you know, I can, is that how's that going to affect you versus the other way? You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. I personally believe that, well, like, if you would ask me that question, the first thing I would say is, I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I don't know is because it depends on those two people who are trying to get married.
Yeah.
I can't, everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
I have known Muslims and Christians to marry and be happy because, you know, they did. They didn't put scripture into their marriage, right? They put love into their marriage, right?
Yeah.
They ain't sit there and beat up each other like, I'm this and I'm that. They left that alone. You see what I'm saying? Now, somebody would ask, like, how do you raise the children? How they did it was they exposed the children to both, and whichever one the children like most, that's the one they cultivate. Even the Muslim helped cultivate the Christian faith in their child. That's the way they wanted to go. So he wasn't beating his chest saying, no, you got to be Muslim, right? So I believe what happens is we take the aspect of hating each other, like you this and you that, and begin once again to put the love of Jesus and the virtues into the relationship. I think they can walk together. You know what I mean?
There are also some instances where, like everybody doesn't come into knowing their faith before they're married. There's some instances where you hear stories of people who maybe didn't have close ties to a religious sect initially, and they get married, and then they transform into a different religion posture than what they previously were. So, like in those instances, can those two who were already married but didn't necessarily have religious ties then stay married? And and my answer would be absolutely, if they wanted to. Right.
It's no different from a Christian marrying an unbeliever, right? What's the difference, right?
I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
It's the practice.
It's the practice. That's what I'm trying to say. So we always put it on different belief systems rather than, and even when we get that from 2 Corinthians, right? I think Paul more likely was talking about, first, what was going on in the Corinthians church, it was just off the chain. You see what I'm saying? And what he was doing was saying he was saying you can't be, it never said we got to be equally yoked. That's not in the Bible. It says unequally yoked, right?
You cannot be unequally yoked.
Not equally yoked. And then, so what he's talking about is that...
what's the difference to you?
Well, it's a big difference on how you perceive in the context. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? So now when you understand unequally yoked, what he was talking about is he's pointing specifically towards the devil. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like there's something that believes that's not of any belief, of any faith, right? That could lead them closer to God. You don't need to be attached to that. That's common sense, right? I wouldn't be attached to somebody who's necessarily a devil worshiper. However, I wouldn't run from them either. Hopefully my light can bring them into the faith. You see what I'm saying?
If you are if you are spiritually mature to engage in that kind of thing, right? Because some people can't, and I'm not talking about spiritually mature is not having theological degrees, being a minister. I'm talking about, because some people think that that's how you weigh your spiritual maturity. No, there are some people who are very fervent in their mindset and are not easily swayed by the slightest encounter with anybody, and then they can go ahead and partake in those kind of dynamics, which I think is appropriate. Right,
and then so now you talk about somebody being equally yoked, right? How we like to say it, right? Mm-hmm. They got to be equally yoked to me, yada yada yada, their spouse, right? I think even you said something the other day when we was talking about this that was so profound about being equally yoked. I forget what it was, but I think even with that, man, we kind of get that twisted. Like we look at somebody, he or she has to have the same figure I am. That don't mean y'all equally yoked.
Oh,
you see what I'm saying?
Financially. Okay, yeah.
Just because y'all two Christians, that don't mean you're equally yoked. Equally yoked is more of a mindset. You see what I'm saying?
It is.
So you can be equally yoked with somebody. You and I both Christians, right? However, we got that together. We both make a certain amount of money. We both doing financial. We both equally yoked in the world, like how the world would see being equally yoked. However, man, all I do is beat on you. You see what I'm saying?
He doesn't.
No, I'm just saying. But
I know.
But that's the dynamic. Like,
right.
I got all this, but I beat on you, right? But I'm equally yoked, so I'm gonna take it. That's crazy. And that's not. I don't believe God meant for that to be. That makes no sense, right? If you even understand the yoke of the plow in the Bible, they're talking about from an agricultural state, right? You know the story, right?
But they don't. Go ahead.
Well, two I think with two oxen they'd be yoked together. They both easily have to be of the same strength in order to plow the ground, right? In order to plow the ground. That's where Paul getting that statement from.
I ain't gonna lie to you. When I first heard the equally yoked unequally yoked concept, I just kept thinking about eggs. I was like, how? That's how you know you don't know that. I was like, oh my God, what this thing make? A yolk from an egg? That don't even make no sense. Which is why I kind of like left it alone a lot of times.
I think the two spelled differently too, actually.
No, it's YOKE, same thing.
No, it's two different spellings.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong, but I think so.
I think you are.
Okay.
But I also, if you're right, I'm not gonna put it in the. I'm not gonna put it in this episode.
But
let me. So let me ask you a question. Do you think when we got married that we were equally yoked?
no, I don't think so. Not at all.
I don't think so either.
Not at all.
Why?
Okay, we can move on past that.
No, but why?
No, because we just had different viewpoints on life. You know what I mean? Like it was certain stuff that I did you didn't like, and vice versa. You see what I'm saying? You was further on in your maturity, and I was still getting there. However, that's a perfect example.
Oh, let me also be clear. I didn't say that to kind of point out whether or not spiritually we were the same.
Yeah, no.
I was just curious to know what you thought.
No, I mean, we both believe in the same thing. We're heading down the same path in that aspect spiritually, but I'm talking about everything else. You know what I mean? You know how we saw life and how we did life. You see what I'm saying? We was different on that. We wasn't equally yoked on that. But the thing is, even if you begin to read in I want to say Corinthians 2, in chapter 7 through 8, you know, if you can understand the context of what he's saying, he's basically saying that you don't run from those people, man. You bring them into the likeness of what you believe in. And I believe that what happened, we didn't separate from each other. We stayed together and our yoke began to come together. You see what I'm saying?
Now, this is not something, ladies, specifically, I'm talking to you, because I am a woman, you are women. I would never suggest going into a partnership with someone unequally yoked. I'll tell you this, that I probably didn't even waste a lot of time thinking about it when we first got together, especially because it was my second marriage. It was just like a lot of other things that I was thinking about. But I would take the time to evaluate whether or not you can, because what Tim is saying is absolutely right. That doesn't necessarily, you necessarily need to run from it. But that also doesn't mean that the journey towards being yoked, I guess, is not challenging. And I mean, marriage itself is challenging. So
I believe it's all about what the person can put up with. If you can't put up with it, don't try to put up with it. That's my thing.
That's right. What I'm saying. But here's the thing, especially with me, I'm the type of person that I oftentimes I don't know what the hell is going on until I actually get into it. Like I don't always have vision enough to see beyond what's in my current circle. Oh, that's a word. Sometimes you gotta partner with somebody who has vision to see longer than what you have the ability to see. But that is a word. Give me my credit.
You just gave yourself credit.
Okay.
That is a word, though.
I'm never going to. Every time you say something profound, I'm gonna be like,
no,
yeah.
But that is a word, though. No, actually, yeah. Say it again for the people in the
No,
back.
I'm not. But I think that I think that life is a lot different than it was when I was coming into marriage both times. Mm-hmm. As far as like man and woman and whatever. I think that a man too needs to closely evaluate. I heard someone say that, it ain't, her booty or her looks that gonna raise your kid. It's gonna be, her essence or whatever. And those are the things that as a man you need to also be mindful of when you're looking at being attached to someone. Because there's still this philosophy that man has to bring in bread and all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Which is fine if that's the kind of man that you want to be. Mm-hmm. But at the same token, if you're bringing in finance, you want someone who's going to be able to help you manage said finance. Right. So, and that part, I think, is what being equally yoked would be symbolic of, or the symbolism of that. You don't have to be perfect in either arena, but you guys have to be able to come together so that you can, to use your analogy, plow the land at the same pace and together without one becoming so much more burdened than the other.
Right, yep. So let me ask you something. Can somebody go into marriage equally yoked and then If they fall out of it, they'll no longer be equally yoked.
I don't think that's impossible because life is life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And anybody who's been married for a year will know that like something can change in an instant. Our life in 2021, we went from a different perspective or a different set of circumstances. Actually, no, I can't even use that example in the same sense because even though we went through a different set of circumstances, we never missed a beat. But we and mentality,
life changed.
Yeah, life changed, and our mentality was getting ready. It had to do a lot of shifting.
Right.
So our mental state had to catch up to
that's a word.
where now it's a word.
No, I'm just saying, like, what happens when your mental capacity outgrow the space you in? Think about that.
Pause. We need a camera person. Okay, but yeah, like I mean that's what happens when your mental space outgrows what?
When your mental capacity outgrows the space you're in, right?
God's trying to take you somewhere else. Either way, and with regards to the question, it differs.
It differs. Hey, you ask me the question, what I say, I'll answer. I don't know.
I
It
just
depends
don't.
on the person, right?
I just don't.
It depends on the people.
Right. There are a series of circumstances that can contribute to making a good decision about this specific topic. And I hope, like, when you guys are watching this, you understand that if we're not giving you concrete answers, it's because we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And there's no one size fits all for anything. Or at least some of the topics that we've talked about.
And I think that's what we want people to understand, that every topic in life, man, I believe there's no concrete answer, right? I believe that's more of a fundamentalist type of approach to say that this is the way we got to do it.
This is the only way.
No, I think
the only thing that we're going to say is the only way to God is through Jesus Christ. That's because Jesus said that, huh?
Right.
Okay, but
that's it. But yes, can two people that don't believe the same thing be together? Of course. Is it something that you got to work through? Of course. Is it something you got to take in consideration? Of course. But it all depends on the two people, right? I believe maturity has a lot to do with it too. If you're mature enough to be with that person in any space, you can be with anybody in any space. You see what I'm saying? But I believe in the Christian faith, we also like to isolate ourselves and be what they call it, inclusive rather than exclusive. You see what I'm saying? We're more of an inclusionary faith, like they can't come in here, they can't do this. No, everybody's accepting. Jesus accepts everybody, man, who's willing to come to him. So we have to also I think we have to also embody those same virtues of Jesus Christ. Everybody is accepted, man.
Yeah, and I also think that when people are experiencing like a hard push against doing those kinds of things, it's because they are maximizing the difficulty of actually operating in those spaces. Because the truth of the matter is, if you become friends or in partnership with someone who is of different faith or religion or belief system, y'all are gonna have some challenges, right? So I guess the evaluated question is are the challenges worth building a relationship with this person? The other part of it too is that just because you're Christian don't mean you're not gonna have no beef with no other Christian.
Man, that's who I have beef with.
So stupid. Again, we don't have the answers, but we hope that this dialogue at least created some space for you to kind of bounce back.
Right.
Yeah, with those thoughts. So, thank you so much for joining us here on the Love and Theology podcast. This is where I get formal. The Love and Theology podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and tell the whole wide world that you can find us right here on YouTube, on our IG page, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and wherever you listen to your digital spaces. And if you're interested in purchasing a shirt, let me know. Send an email to the Love and Theology @gmail. Email address, and if you have some topic suggestions, also loveandtheology@gmail.com.
Peace.
I know I've questioned many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in real love, your love.
every mom who ever missed a meal so they would have enough to let their babies eat. Fathers who grind every day to provide.